What matters most right now? Welcome to Sales for Nice People, the daily podcast. The daily podcast for ethical entrepreneurs who want to learn how to sell more because of your values and not despite them. I am Martin Steller. I help nice people sell more. And when you have a conversation with a buyer, somebody who might want your work, but it's not sure yet, and they're trying to figure out what's the landscape and the options, one of the best things that you can do is ask the right questions. Ask questions that make your buyer think. Ask questions that focus them on what is most important. Because very often we fall into a trap of asking questions that actually don't really serve their needs that much, because we ask things like, who's the decision maker here? Or what is your typical buying process? Or what is the budget that you have for this project? And while these are all questions that are useful and important, they are basically the wrong questions to ask when it is about getting your buyer to want what you have. Because a question like what's your budget or who's the decision maker is clearly a question that serves your interests. Because it is a question that helps you get a lay of the land and move your deal forward. And yes, you have to ask questions like that sometimes. But if you don't, first and foremost, focus on questions that have your buyer focus the conversation on what is most important, well, then all those questions about the technicalities of the sale and the decision maker and the budget aren't going to help you, because your buyer is just going to say, sounds good, we'll get back to you, we need to think about it. And then your deal stalls, you get ghosted, and you have to start the whole game over again. So one of the most important and useful questions that you can ask is, what matters most right now? Because this is an extremely powerful focusing question that centers the entire conversation around what is actually most alive, pressing, and important for your buyer. And as a consequence, the entire conversation that ensues is going to be highly relevant. It is going to be focused on where your buyer's actual concerns are. And that then makes it much easier to continue the conversation, which is kind of required because without a conversation, there's no sale. Your job as a seller is to have a conversation that is so useful that your buyer keeps engaging and participating in the conversation. That is how you avoid getting ghosted. So when you are at the start of a meeting, ask them questions that focus. It can be as simple as what matters most right now. It can be, what are you looking to get out of this meeting? What made you decide to have this meeting? But in all cases, you want to ask a question right at the start of the meeting that has your buyer select the topic that is most important. Because if you do that, you are now talking about what they care about. And you won't have to fall into the trap of talking about the things that you care about, like when am I going to get paid, when are you going to sign the contract, or why didn't you reply to my proposal? This is Sales for Nice People. Ask useful questions. And if you want a short daily email in your inbox, go to martinsteller.com/nicepeople, and I will see you again tomorrow.